Welcome to Draft Utopia's second edition of NFL Digest. Thanks to some upsets in college football with Oregon and Kansas State losing, Notre Dame is now the new number one team in the polls with Alabama up at number two. Last week, Alabama lost to Texas A&M, and now they're right back up at the polls at number two. Make sure to wish your family a happy Thanksgiving this weekend because there's going to be a lot of fun games on. There's going to be turkey. There's going to be praying. There's going to be a lot to be grateful for. Let's dive into some Week 11 NFL action. Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. The huge difference in this game was the total number of rushing yards. Buffalo had 120 rushing yards on the ground, which was double the amount of rushing yards that Miami obtained on the ground Thursday night. Neither quarterback really showed their A game in a very pedestrian overall contest. Packers and the Lions. I picked the Lions to win this game in my upset of the week. Both offensive lines looked sluggish in the game without pass protection as both quarterbacks had to react on instinct. The Lions were ahead 20-14 before Aaron Rodgers went discount double check in the fourth quarter, throwing a fourth quarter touchdown pass to Randall Cobb. Despite a shaky defense, Green Bay triumphs 24-20. RIP 2012 Detroit Lions season. The Motor City Kitties better dig up the coffin because they're not going to the postseason. Arizona Cardinals and the Atlanta Falcons. Ryan Lindley, the fifth-round rookie out of San Diego State, he got to come in for John Skelton for the Cardinals. Lindley went 9 for 20 with 64 passing yards. He definitely needs a lot of work, and he doesn't look like an NFL quarterback. It's pretty apparent that Arizona needs to draft a quarterback this April or obtain one in free agency. Maybe if the Eagles part ways with Michael Vick, he could be an option for Arizona. I could also see the Cardinals pursuing Matt Castle. The bottom line is you got to get someone in free agency, and this quarterback might suck. Maybe you make a trade with the New England Patriots for Ryan Mallett. That's another possibility you might want to dive into. The bottom line is Atlanta's got to do better next week in order for Lindley to retain the starting job. Matt Ryan throws 0 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and the Falcons still win. I don't know how this happens. You throw 0 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and your team still gets the victory. Unbelievable. First of 3 overtime contests. We start out with the Buccaneers and the Panthers. Josh Freeman, even in terms of quarterback performance, Newton did a lot better than people expected because Brandon LaFell stepped up. Tampa Bay takes its first of 3 consecutive overtime contests on NFL Digest. Cleveland was up 13-0 at halftime over the Dallas Cowboys. Then the Cowboys made this game interesting by sending the game into overtime. Dallas threw the ball 50 times while rushing only 21 times. Ben Watson's 2 receiving touchdowns for the Cleveland Browns helped Cleveland get 20 points. Despite a shaky first half, where the Browns held the Dallas Cowboys to 0 points, Dallas still manages to come back and get the win, 23-20 in overtime. Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Houston Texans at Reliant Stadium. Chad Henne was reliant. Henne might be the answer in Jacksonville. Despite the loss, he threw 354 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and no interceptions. Henne threw a lot of great passes, and I don't think I can mock a quarterback to the Jaguars in the mock draft this week because the Jaguars are doing a lot better than people expected with Chad Henne. Plus, Blaine Gabbert's still in year 2 or year 3 of that contract. This quarterback class looks really weak overall. So maybe the Jaguars need to put off the idea of adding a quarterback for now when you could address a few other defensive needs. Justin Blackmon really kept this game interesting for the Jaguars. 7 receptions, 236 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. Cecil Shorts had 81 receiving yards, with his top play coming on a 67-yard receiving touchdown. Mercedes Lewis had 2 receiving touchdowns for Jacksonville, which allowed the Jaguars to hang in. Andre Johnson stepping up in a critical moment after injuries affected him early in 2012. Johnson had his best game with 14 receptions, 273 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. If you had Andre Johnson on your fantasy team this week, you scored major fantasy points. Receiving touchdown is 6 points. So you got 27, 33, and if you count receptions as an additional point, every 10 receptions is 1 point. That's at least 34 points for Andre Johnson through fantasy land. Bengals and the Chiefs. Bengals won this game due to balance. Andy Dalton avoided turnovers, throwing 230 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. BenJarvus Green-Ellis, 25 carries, 101 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. Matt Castle and Brady Quinn both in the 9 for 20 range. They both sucked equally. And the problem is the Chiefs' odds of drafting a quarterback that busts go up. Matt Barkley gets injured against UCLA. Tyler Wilson lost his head coach, Bobby Petrino, early in the season. And Geno Smith looks like the best option on the table at this point. Considered a top 10 prospect. But you're going to have to reach for him and take him number 1 overall because the drop-off in overall talent among the quarterbacks in this class decreases after a certain point. New York Jets, St. Louis Rams. The Jets winning this game puts the AFC East teams not named New England all at 4-6. It'll be interesting to see how each team responds from here. The Rams tie with San Francisco, and then they lose at home to the New York Jets. Quite frankly, the Rams need to use these 2 draft picks from Washington and from their own team to try to trade up, maybe get a star player. Maybe you get 2 additional offensive pieces for Sam Bradford. The bottom line is the Rams did not execute. This was a game that they should have won at home against the New York Jets team. So their season's over. Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Redskins. Nick Foles looked horrible in this game with 1 interception. Robert Griffin III was lights out as usual. Washington wins 31-6. And the Eagles are looking like a team that could be picking in the top 5 overall. If Andy Reid gets fired, do you get a quarterback or do you stick with Michael Vick and Nick Foles for another year? That's a very debatable question that could create a lot of controversy as the season progresses. New Orleans Saints and the Oakland Raiders. Drew Brees, 20 for 27, 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. Saints back at 5-5, getting hot at the right time. San Diego Chargers versus Denver Broncos. Denver just won this game. Peyton Manning looked abundant. Manning took care of business. Na. Goodbye, crater face. Denver's win puts them at 7-3 on the year. San Diego looks like they're out of the division. Norv Turner, clean up your desk, send him a turkey, and the San Diego Chargers are done. Indianapolis Colts and the New England Patriots. New England won this game due to Tom Brady and pass protection. No surprise. Rob Gronkowski, 7 receptions, 137 receiving yards. He did get injured, but you look at the rest of the offense. Welker stepped up. Julian Edelman had some good plays. The Patriots are looking like the Patriots of old. And when Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski are both back for the playoffs, it's going to be scary to see how difficult this Patriots team is. Andrew Luck appeared flustered in his Foxborough debut. These teams might meet again in the NFL playoffs. If they do, Andrew Luck will have his chance at redemption then and there. Baltimore Ravens versus Pittsburgh Steelers. The Ravens and the Steelers at Heinz Field. Both teams brought their A game defensively. Each team had a significant highlight. The highlight for the Steelers was a Byron Leftwich 31-yard scramble. On that play, Leftwich injured his shoulder, and it affected his performance the rest of the game as Leftwich looked really shaky. The other player that stepped up was Jacoby Jones. He returns a 63-yard punt for a touchdown. And thanks to this technicality, the Baltimore Ravens win, and Pittsburgh drops to 6-4 on the season, while the Ravens are at 8-2. San Francisco 49ers, Chicago Bears. They're in San Francisco after San Francisco tied with the St. Louis Rams last week. Jay Cutler isn't playing. Alex Smith is. I know I picked the Bears to win on our draftutopia.com page, but I'm changing my pick at the last minute because I know Alex Smith is playing and Jay Cutler isn't. Even if Cutler and Smith are both out, I prefer Colin Kaepernick over Jason Campbell for various reasons. So I'm taking the San Francisco 49ers to win. I'm going to say 10-9 instead of 17-9. Bears over the 49ers. I'll go 10-9. 49ers over the Bears. This is Chris Ransom for Draft Utopia NFL Digest. You can check us out at draftutopia.com.